Okay, so today we're going to go over Dark Knight's Death Metal by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. So this is DC's latest crisis-like event. It's clearly being set up that it's going to have major ramifications for the multiverse and the nature of reality as a whole. It's playing with characters like the Monitor, the Anti-Monitor, and grand cosmic designs like that. And it's clearly dealing with the destruction of the multiverse throughout the process. And so the clear implication is that the multiverse itself is not going to look the same once this miniseries is over. So perhaps we'll see a restructuring of the multiverse, or it might even go deeper than that and completely redesign how the multiverse functions. And while that's yet to be seen, there are hints within the story that there are multiple different entities seeking to redesign the multiverse in their image, or whatever they think the multiverse should be. So for the uninitiated, this is a sequel to Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Dark Knight's Metal event from a few years ago, as well as the culmination of Scott Snyder's Justice League run. So familiarity with Metal would help, but is not necessary. However, I do feel like there's a bit of an expectation that you've read Justice League up until this point, as this story spins directly out of it. I do feel like you could be a little bit lost if you haven't read either Metal or the Justice League run, but the Justice League run primarily is what's important here. However, right off the bat, from page 1, this comic is clearly set in an alternate version of the DCU. Now, the book makes it clear that this is not alternate as in an alternate reality, but this is the DCU reshaped into a form that we've never seen it before. So right away, we get a map of the DC Universe Earth as it has been reshaped, with the Arkham Wastelands, spots called Fall of Captain Atom, Castle Bat, Themyscira, and Megapocalypse, as well as a place called the Hellscape. And if you look at the shape of the map, it seems like it's clearly intended to be a global map, or at least a map of multiple continents, except in this, they're reshaped to loosely form a bat symbol. So clearly not the Earth that we know and are familiar with. And so since this hasn't been seen prior to this issue, it's going to leave new readers and people who are familiar with Scott Snyder's run so far on the same page, in that they're all going to be jumping in blind to this strange new world. And that's where I think both the strengths and the problems lie in this issue. Snyder is clearly having a lot of fun playing with the universe and taking whatever elements that he wants and throwing them together and seeing what works. Unfortunately, I feel like he goes a bit overboard in a lot of the different things that are goofy and just kind of being strange and new for the sake of being strange and new. For instance, in Dark Knight's Metal, Scott Snyder introduced the Dark Multiverse, and from that, he pulled multiple different Batmen. And these were evil versions of Batman who had taken on different powers from the different members of the Justice League. So one of these evil versions of Batman had stolen the Speed Force from Barry Allen, making it a Batman with the powers of the Flash. And to a degree, it felt like he had kind of gone a little bit overboard in doing that in the original Metal event, but here he goes above and beyond. He has a character called Batmage, which just seems to be a Batman who has learned the mystical arts. And he has a character that is a Tyrannosaurus Rex with Bruce Wayne's mind. And I feel like any of these characters could be interesting in a different setting, but just thrown together and working as a unit as a less significant part of the death metal story, they just kind of feel goofy to me. Now, personally, I would love to see and maybe even write a version of Batman who learns under Constantine. Or instead of honing his detective skills, he used that time and that mental prowess to focus on developing the mystical arts. So the central concept of this Batmage character, which I think is what he's called, is not inherently bad or even necessarily goofy, but he's a relatively bit character in this story and really amounts to more just a messenger. So it doesn't really feel like Scott Snyder's building this world that is going to be super interesting, and he's just kind of scrambling to come up with, okay, what other DC character can I have Bruce Wayne take their powers? And one of the things I really appreciated about this book is that it does feel self-aware. In the original Metal event, Scott Snyder introduced the Batman Who Laughs, which was a Jokerized version of Batman. And I myself, and I know a lot of people, were really interested in the Batman Who Laughs. Unfortunately, the comics quickly became oversaturated with the Batman Who Laughs. He got his own miniseries, He played a minor but significant role in the Justice League. He appeared in the Batman Superman comic, and he's popped up in a lot of different places, to the point that a lot of people have gotten really tired of him. Well, he reappears here as the right-hand man to the main villain, Perpetua. And when he reappears, he says this: "Oh, I know. You again? We're so sick of you." It's clearly Scott Snyder getting meta to where he's acknowledging through the lips of Batman Who Laughs that people are sick and tired of Batman Who Laughs. And unfortunately, what happens with the character beyond this moment, I feel, kind of flies in the face of that self-awareness. It's like Scott Snyder saying, yes, I know you're sick of him, but I still enjoy him, so that's what matters. Now, there are a lot of things that are introduced in this story that I feel like could be really interesting. Unfortunately, it's also balanced out with a lot of different things that are kind of goofy to me. So while I do enjoy the book, and I feel like it is a decent introduction to this new DCU that Scott Snyder is playing in, I also feel like there's a lot of goofiness that it could turn off a lot of people, and if they lean too much into the goofiness for the rest of the series, I feel like it's going to be a major detractor. And so I guess really that would be the ultimate explanation of how I feel about this issue and what I anticipate for the series going forward. Is it feels like it has a lot of potential to be really interesting and have some really cool ideas, but at the same time has a lot of potential to just go off the rails. I am a little bit more hopeful than I am skeptical, but let's just say that my excitement for the series has diminished quite a bit after reading this first issue. Now, I am a little bit behind after moving to the UK and not having a local comic book store to go to. I have not kept up with comics the way I used to. So, I do have the second issue. I'm going to read and review that next, and we'll see if it reignites my hope or if it reinforces those fears. I hope you come back for that. Until then, this is Uncle Joel saying, stay tangible.